Good evening, Otters. Welcome to week 3 of the BOL Plat League. Tonight's streamed best of 3 will feature two teams who have had a fantastic start to season 11, Dynasty Celestials and Agni Kai. Both squads currently with a 2-0 record after the first 2 weeks of play, but only one will be able to retain that undefeated streak after this match. Crewman here, joined by the always astute Mr. Alls alongside as per usual. Mr. Alls, how we doing?
Man, I'm doing good, crewman, and I'm looking forward to this matchup. It's not often you get to see a bunch of undefeated teams. Even 3 weeks into the season, the pool of teams that are winning starts to contract. You start to see less and less of these teams that can grind it in week after week, and neither of these guys have had an easy road to get here. Dynasty had a 3-game match last week. Agni Kai has had 3-game matches both weeks. They're both clawing along right behind Conduit, who's up there, not having dropped a game yet. So it's going to be fun to see what happens. But, crewman, I do believe we are already ready for draft.
Indeed. We are going to go ahead and get right into it. Still early on in the season, so this is going to be, possibly the biggest test for both of these teams is going to be one another, the battle that they will be having tonight. We also have a new patch for this one as well, Alls, that I think we can very briefly touch on, 14.6. What are maybe one or two highlights on this patch for you?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how much more Ornn we see. Ornn was already super strong, already being played a ton at the mid to high level of play, so it'll be interesting to see how much more he comes up. I'm also interested in seeing whether Senna returns to more of the fasting style, because as you've mentioned a couple of times over the past couple of weeks when we've been broadcasting together, we've seen a fair bit of the farming Senna, but with the major nerfs to her soul collection rate out of minions that she kills, it's going to be much harder for that farming Senna to get online. So looking to see a whole lot more tanks and Senna in the bot lane here in the near future, which has always been a strong combo.
Very true. Very true. We also have, Agni Kai actually has been playing a little bit of the Senna. Finny down there does tend to lean more towards utility champions, and it's really the solo lanes that tend to do more of the heavy lifting for Agni Kai, or at least that's how it's been going so far this season. So the Seraphine has been one of Finny's favorites. We can see that has been banned away by Dynasty alongside the Trundle and the Maokai. Caitlyn Misfortune Sejuani banned away by Agni Kai. And then we are going to get the Ahri here on B1. This is definitely a comfort pick for Nightmare, and it's also a denial from Socks to Thighs. Both of these guys really like their Ahri.
Yeah, Nightmare's been around in the scene for a long, long time. Normally plays a lot of jungle, so it's interesting to see them here in the mid lane for Dynasty. But as you said, very comfortable pick here. Not surprising to see it come out. I'm interested to see as well here for Agni Kai if Finny steps away from those supportive roles and takes on the Smolder, because they've been spamming it a ton in solo queue, and despite the nerfs that we saw in the recent patch, I still think it's at a very good spot and would fit in just fine if they want to put this bot lane into more of a power point.
Yeah, the Smolder, definitely a pick that we will still be looking out for. Did, as you mentioned, always receive some slight nerfs, or, nerfs that I guess we're not really sure how big they are on this patch. We'll see if these teams feel like it's still a pick to be prioritized, but the Diana into the Ahri, that is actually Sox's most played, Ahri being the second most. And then, what is that second pick there for Agni Kaya? I can't see it on the...
It's Jhin. It is Jhin. Yes,
interesting.
It turns out our lovely players don't know how to click submit on their picks. So you get a text box, Truman, and so do our viewers.
All right, well, Jhin coming through on R2 there. Definitely an exciting selection. It does kind of play into what I was just saying about that bot duo for Agni Kai being more utility focused. On the other side of things, the Xayah and the Udyr will come through. Interestingly, dropping that support pick down to the 4-5 for Dynasty. We'll see what kind of options Agni Kai are going to want to remove.
Yeah, I'm not particularly surprised. Funny Dude, or rather,
Funny Dude?
Yeah, Funny Dude is has a pretty wide champ pool, and so does Dynasty over here with Fox Stepbro. So not a whole lot of worry about being banned out here, and I think getting the priority of the Xayah and the Udyr, which is a very powerful flex pick, has been utterly dominant in the early levels in the top lane, and fairly strong coming out of the jungle here over recent patches. I think that's a lot more valuable. The Kayn, though, that's a little bit of an odd one. I was mentioning in pregame that Kayn got a bit of a major nerf in my eyes, in that he can no longer activate items when using his Q. Now that doesn't sound like a big deal, but the Iron Spike Whip, the Tiamat rather, nowadays, being activated on top of that Q, that's a ton of wave clear or camp clear that's going to be taken out of his kit. It's going to slow him down immensely, and I think that's going to hurt Agni Kai here a little bit as they try and match, especially if it's an Udyr they're trying to match the speed of.
That is definitely true, Alls. You know, Kayn does have a number of items that he does like to go for that still will be very good on him, especially Blue Kayn. You know, a lot of those assassin items are still very strong. But moving into our second ban phase here, top laners do seem to be the focus. A little bit surprising to me that Agni Kai would not ban out some supports from this position, but I guess both supports still yet to lock in. So electing to leave that pool a little bit more open, top laners being the focus, as Aatrox, Yorick, Alawi, and Urgot are all going to get banned away. Agni Kai here with the R4 pick. You imagine this goes to the support, unless, you know, they really feel like there's a priority pick in the top lane that is still remaining for them.
I mean, I think there are still definitely champions that are quite good in the top lane. The Ornn is still available, the Gragas, which, despite the nerfs to Vandal Gragas in particular, is still there, but no, it does look like Agni Kai wants that Nautilus, wants to have the lockdown to go with Jhin, and I can't fault him for it.
Yeah, it's going to give them some really nice, reliable engage, right? Some additional frontline. This is a very aggressive draft for Agni Kai that they have put together here. It's a lot of dive, right? And then Jhin with the long-range follow-up, of course. And Dynasty, they have tended to play more around team fights. You know, the top lane for Dynasty, Feathers, has really been a rock for them so far this season, tending to go for a lot of tanks. Ornn being one of his favorites. We're going to see that come through here. And a Swain support, indeed. An interesting pairing alongside the Xayah. What do you make of that, Alls?
I mean, I don't hate it here, frankly. The Xayah and Swain can do tons of damage to the Nautilus at a speed which Jhin cannot return. Because Jhin is so slow in the early games with the 4 shots, with the bouncing grenade, Xayah and Swain, with their ability to actually auto-attack at reasonable intervals, are going to do a whole lot more. It also works very well in the team fights, because that's another big beefy body that's going to be sitting between these bullets and the Xayah and Ahri. Dynasty, working with a very good front to back that's not afraid to go deep, has a very coherent plan. Agni Kai, I don't think is feeling much different. They're looking to go in deep. The only difference I see here, crewman, is this Jhin. That's hyper immobile and hyper vulnerable. Doesn't have the Feather Storm like the Xayah. If they get on top of him, he is dead.
Yeah, definitely the case. You know, the Jhin will have to play very far back, I think, in these fights in order to try and keep himself safe. But honestly, Alls, I feel like both of these drafts line up very nicely with the way that these teams have been playing so far this season. You know, for Dynasty, they've got a ton of front line, they've got decent setup, and then strong carries in the mid and bot carry positions, and the Ahri and the Xayah there. So seems like they got pretty much everything that they wanted. And for Agni Kai, they've got some strong solo lanes, including that R5 Mordekaiser that did come through into the Ornn. And then most played for their mid laner for Sox over there is going to feel really, really nice. And they've got the CC utility in the bot lane to help facilitate those strong solo lane carries. So definitely it should be, I think we couldn't ask for more in this Game 1 draft to really see between these two teams how they match up against one another, and who's going to really be under that pressure to try to make some adaptations in order to counter the style that the other is going for.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say, you brought up the Mordekaiser. I'm a little bit concerned about it. And this sounds weird, because I love Mordekaiser. Anyone who has played with me knows that when I'm in doubt, when I don't know what kind of matchup I want, I will always slam Mordekaiser. It's a fairly safe champion, it has a ton of good matchups, and as long as you don't run it down, you're generally going to be fairly okay overall into game. But this particular Dynasty lineup is so bad for him. Ornn has the unstoppable on the W, can break out of any ults in the early game. In teamfights, if he's trying to zone, he can't zone Ornn because he has the W. He can't zone Udyr because he has the empowered E. He can't lock down Xayah because Xayah has the Featherstorm and will likely buy a QSS on top of that. So his only targets are Ahri, who's just going to dance around him in the Death Realm, and Swain, who is the support and is not a target you want to be taking unless it's your absolute only option and everybody else is dead. So I feel like he's in a very weak position to actually have an effect on the map in this game.
Certainly some interesting points that you're making there, Ols. I will say that, as far as ulting the Swain is concerned, preventing him from sucking your entire team versus only sucking you, there can be some value there. But, and I do think that there may be some ways to play around some of these other potential hindrances for the Mordekaiser as well. If you just hold the Death Realm until you see the Ornn use the Bellows Breath, right? Ornn can't just hold W forever. At least he probably won't. I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But I imagine there will still be some opportunities for the Mordekaiser, but he is going to have to be really careful, right, to make sure that the ultimate doesn't get canceled or nullified by any of those abilities that you were just highlighting. So definitely something for us to keep our eyes on moving forward in this game. Also, I have a little bit of a fun stat for you. I'm not sure how much you're going to enjoy this stat, but it's something that I would like to share with you and everyone watching. So for Agni Kai, they have, as you briefly mentioned earlier on, played 6 games already this season. Both of their previous matches were 2-1 in weeks 1 and 2. All 6 of those games, have lasted for over 30 minutes, with the series turning game 2 in last week's match against Subatomic Gaming Proton lasting over 45 minutes. So this team plays pretty slow. They do not necessarily snowball leads too effectively necessarily, and it generally does take them some time to close things out. But where they have really impressed so far this season, is in that mid and late game team fighting. So it seems like they do tend to struggle a little bit early on. Even if they find early leads, they're not, as I mentioned, necessarily the most proficient at snowballing those. So we'll have to see, if they can stay relatively close in these games until later on, or maybe we're going to be seeing something a little bit different on the Rift.
Yeah, that honestly concerns me even more hearing that, looking at these drafts, because the Ornn scales so well with the ornaments. True. The Ahri and Xayah do great late game damage, and yeah, the Jhin scales very well, but they also have that 5th member, the Swain, who's going to scale much better and be far more useful in those 45-50 minute team fights when he actually has items than a Nautilus with items will. So, well, that's generally been a good plan of action for them. I do worry that Dynasty kind of has their number if this game goes late.
That's definitely an interesting point there as well, Alls. Jhin, he can scale well, right? But you know what he doesn't scale well into? Tanks. And Dynasty have 3 of them. So, if 2.5 if you count Swain or not, I guess. But that is going to be interesting to see. If Agni Kai's sort of strategy that they've been going with so far this season of kind of dragging games out and outplaying their opponents in team fights is going to be enough against this Dynasty squad that, with the draft that they've put together for game number 1, seems they're going to be very, very comfortable, going towards those later parts of the game, as you mentioned. So that's pretty much it, I think, for our draft discussion, though. Are you leaning one way or the other? We can put nameplates on for this decision, Alls, with nameplates on, with everything that we've just discussed about these 2 teams. Which draft are you vibing with a little bit more for this game number 1?
I'm saying Dynasty in 29 minutes and 36 seconds.
Excellent. Well, not only the game prediction, but the exact time prediction as well, Alls. That's absolutely fantastic. We'll have to see if my co-casters' premonitions are going to come true, or if Agni Kai have other plans. We'll be on to the Rift for game number 1 right after this. All right, everybody, here we go. Welcome to Summoner's Rift, Blue Water Plat League for the first time on patch 14.6. As we continue our journey here in Season 11, this, of course, being week number 3. And we do have Dynasty Celestials on the blue side, Agni Kai on the red to start this one off. Looks like not too much level 1 action going to be coming through walls. Any runes or summoner spells you'd like us to take note of?
No, although I have to say I'm a little bit disappointed we don't have any level 1 action, given that there is a Nautilus and a Swain. You know, it's always fun to see that. But I think everything looks fairly standard here. Glizzler is going with that Conqueror as opposed to, say, the Electrocute here, which does lead me to believe that they're going for that Red Cane build. So none of those assassin items here.
Very true. Very true. Of course, Red Cane did get a little bit of a buff on this patch. You know, of course, he also will be unable to use item actives during his dash animation, but he did get a little bit more AD scaling on the Q. So that is going to feel all right. You have to think for Ross. We'll see what kind of build the Glizzler does decide to go for. As we've had a little bit of a pause here, guys. We should be getting into the action very shortly here.
Yeah, I do want to pick your brain a little bit here. We see Orns go so many different ways in the way they start the game. Some of them start no items and then build something the moment they step into lane. Some Orns go core pot. Some Orns just buy a potion and then wait until they have a meaningful mid-level component straight off. What do you feel? Like, if you're playing Ornn, where do you tend to lean on that spectrum?
It's an interesting decision. You know, I'm not really much of a top laner or an Ornn player necessarily, so I don't really have too much of an opinion on that one. You know, if I am playing Ornn, I will tend to probably just go D shields in most cases, and then you can just kind of work my way towards the first item to try and get tanky as soon as possible. But you know, it does depend on the matchup. And honestly, Feathers, I think a much better Ornn player, it's safe to say, than I am. And I think going for the Corrupting Potion does make some sense, because it does allow you to sustain, right, and stay in the lane for longer, which is something that Ornn can be very comfortable doing.
Yeah, very true. Having those items, or having this healing of the core pot is, in brawly matchups like what Mordekaiser wants to do, pretty valuable here. So does make quite a lot of logical sense. We'll have to see how it works out for him, though, as Mordekaiser does like to be hyper-aggressive in the early game into a matchup like Ornn where he can punish.
That is definitely true. Yes, Mordekaiser does love his melee matchups, allows him to proc the passive very easily, as you can see there, and is going to be on the offensive here through the early laning phase. Feather's certainly going to be on the back foot, but he is very comfortable on that foot. You know, he tends to lean on that foot kind of regardless, honestly. At least that's the way it's been going so far this season for Feathers and for the rest of Dynasty. Kane did path up towards that top side. Is Finny in trouble down here? The Jhin forced to burn through that health potion. Very low now underneath his turret. Could be dangerous to stick around, although the minion wave isn't too substantial here. That's going to be crashing. So I think just going for the reset here is probably the safer call.
Yeah, it's a safe call, but I gotta say, I don't think Fox has missed a single E so far as he cancels the back here. Finny going to be pushed off this crash. That's going to be brutal for him unless he chooses to stay and put himself in a very dangerous situation looking for a flash E here.
With that cancel, it looks like the Jhin is going to elect to try and hang around. We do have the Glizzler moving down now towards this bottom side of the map, as Sox is not going to be able to get this wave in and is completely out of resources. So the Diana is going to have to base. Kane looking for the double crab right now. Looks like he is going to be able to lock that one away. Batman not able to make it to the South River in time. But I don't know if this is a good fight for Agni Kai. I mean, Finny is so low, he's just going to get hooked in and instantly is dead. First blood over to Dynasty. Glizzler trying to make his way out now, stunned up by the Homeless Man. And the Phoenix Storm for the slows. Kane flashes away. Will stay alive. Another never move. Going to connect onto the Nautilus. And Dynasty Celestials off to a very solid start towards this bottom side.
Yeah, crewman, I don't want to say I saw that one coming, but you can't stick around when your opponent has been landing those grabs left, right, and center. You just know that the next one is going to spell your doom. So That just feels like a little bit of a bad map read here from Finny, and hopefully one that they can clean up to keep this competitive.
Nice charm landing onto Socks in the mid lane. Batman moving forward, looking for the stun. We'll be able to find that one, but Nightmare, 0 mana right now on this Ahri, so there's not really enough damage here to actually finish off that Diana, but critically, Socks already used the teleport and very low on health now. Once again, Nightmare still with that TP available. So if the Ahri can find a timer to get back to base, would be in a very advantaged position in that lane.
Yeah, a little bit awkward there from Batman, was trying to buy that space for Nightmare to get a good back off, but couldn't quite push Socks far enough away, couldn't quite clear out enough of the wave that Nightmare could back safely, so it does leave him in an awkward spot. Looking for a regank here, though, could be good.
Here once again, yeah, but Funny Dude in position towards this topside river has actually rotated up to ensure the Glizzler can get this first set of grubs. So this is how Agni Kai like to play. They like to play for the top side. Glizzler going to be able to secure this first neutral, and as we can see, Dynasty moving down towards the dragon to make this a trade.
Yeah, you were talking...
Oh, Socks goes into the Moonfall! Almost a kill as Nightmare has to flash away.
Yeah, very close there in the mid lane. You were talking in a pregame about how it felt to take these new grub changes with the health regen as opposed to the big old shield after kill. You want to elaborate a bit on that?
Yeah, sure. I do think, you know, in theory, the change does benefit junglers with more single target damage, right? Because the heal is not going to be as valuable on grubs who are still basically full health. You know, I will also say that the heal does actually overheal the grubs by a small amount, so there is actually still some value for the grubs, even if they haven't been targeted down yet. But in general, you know, just the fact that it is so much more clear where those health thresholds are at does just make things a lot cleaner, a lot easier to be able to identify, you know, when you can get the secure on that objective, as the Glizzler is potentially going to get secured in this bot river right now. His teammates are not going to be able to help him out. They're just going to have to leave him for the Wolves, or the Celestials in this case. 2-0 now for Grim to fire on the Xayah 7 minutes in.
Yeah, handing that over to the Xayah here is just brutal for this bot lane. Already, Finny has felt like they haven't had a great time here. Ornhorn coming down in the mid lane.
Forge God finds the R2, and that's going to be all she wrote for Socks. 3-0 now. Dynasty building up a little bit of a lead. 1.5k at the moment.
Yeah, 1.5k and on the carries, too. A lot of times with these early game junglers like the Udyr or the Volibear, as we've seen in previous matchups, you get these huge leads, 3, 4, 5 kills early on, but it's all on that jungler who needs to be able to start transitioning them over to the laners. But here, we're seeing it already on the laners from the start. That puts Dynasty in such a great position to scale so easily into the mid game, get out of these lanes, and start really tearing up the map.
Yeah, definitely feels like everything going according to plan for Dynasty so far. Feathers, you know, as usual, an exemplary weak side performance over here on the Ornn, has been able to immune those Death's Grasps with the Bellows Breath very consistently so far in this lane. And of course, as we just saw, with a very nicely timed roam over towards mid to get that first kill for Nightmare. But we also have to remember, Alls, that Agni Kai in their comfort zone as well. They do tend to fall behind early and come alive more towards the mid and later stages.
Yeah, I just worry here, crewman, that they haven't given themselves many options in terms of what they've drafted to come alive like that. They have the Diana and the Mordekaiser, but Jhin does not come back from behind very well at all. He is a feast or famine champion, so having the spot lane so far behind does leave me a little bit concerned about the depth of their composition's damage profile.
Yeah, that is a very fair assessment. You know, the Jhin will still obviously be able to help out a little bit with just with the slows and the roots coming through, but, you know, absolutely he's not going to be able to provide much beyond that if he does continue to fall behind. As we can see, 20 CS differential right now down towards the bot lane, in addition to those 2 kills over for Grim.
That is matched by about a 15 CS difference up here in the top lane. Feathers, largely because of that roam, and also because Walk has put some great pressure down, is falling pretty far in that metric. So it's keeping this gold difference from getting too far apart, crewman. They still have options. They just have to start indexing into them.
Very true. Very true. The Mordekaiser is still very powerful at this point in the game. And we are going to have the next round of Kevin's coming up in about 10 seconds or so. Glizzler in position, as is his top laner. They have control right now, but we can see Batman starting to move in as well. Nightmare looking to gain some mid-priority. We might even just see a full-on skirmish as the support's moving up towards this top side as well.
Yeah, Stepbro, though, way behind on the timer. Funny Dude was much sooner to get here, so it does give a little bit of a positional advantage.
Oh, However, not going to land. Glizzler dashes back. Nautilus potentially in trouble. Charm going to miss, but the Spirit Rush, the damage is already so much from Nightmare. Funny Dude has to flash away. And incidentally, it is actually Funny Dud is the spelling on that. Are we going with Funny Dud or Funny Dude?
I think we give the benefit of the doubt and give him the E.
Okay, all right. That sounds good to me. But the dude is funny. With the help. Oh, that's a charm landing onto Socks as the Moonfall comes out. Is it almost enough to turn around on a Nightmare? And they will be able to get one kill back, but the Nautilus is going to fall as well as Stepbro pulls back. The Kane does go for the Umbral Trespass. Going to get some extra orbs out of this one, but he's not going to be able to make it out.
My gosh.
As the triple kill goes over to the Dynasty support.
Look, okay, he's an AP carry. It doesn't matter that he's support. Those kills are his by birthright.
Yeah, already got the lost chapter and everything.
Yeah. All jokes aside, though, I did see the hints that this was potentially going to happen. Funny Dude was not level 6, didn't have access to the ultimate.
Yeah.
That's a lot of combat power that wasn't available for that fight. And now Fox going to continue to be unleashed for these roams, and especially with the ADC already so strong, 30 CS and 2 kills up, there's no threat from Finny, and even if a roam comes in from somebody else, I don't think Grim is particularly pressed, so Fox can start roaming around the map and making big use of this power he's been given.
Props to Agni Kai, they are able to quickly identify that the grubs are gone, and they're able to trade for the second dragon. So we're tied in grubs and dragons through the first 12 minutes of this one. Of course, the gold still very much in favor of Dynasty. But yeah, I mean, that last team fight that we just saw, you know, in the mid lane for that second round of grubs, as Socks putting on the dancing shoes and getting away from these Ahri skill shots in the mid lane. But Mordekaiser wasn't really there for that, right? He was actually just kind of zoning away the Ornn, if I remember correctly, and he's kind of the strongest piece of this Agni Kai composition right now.
Yeah, has the fully completed Rylai's is a huge disruption threat in these team fights, so not having him is a little bit pressing, but by the same token, these are early game fights. You can't expect everybody to roam down.
Very true. This continued bot lane pressure coming out from the Dynasty duo. So not really able to put, too much damage into that turret, but they are close, I believe, to securing their second plate.
Yeah, time's running out, though. Just 2 waves left until those fall. Grim should be able to pick up 1, but anything beyond that is going to probably be out of reach, short of another kill picked up here.
Very true, very true. We do see Nautilus on the move once again, the Funny Dude, looking to do his set over towards the mid lane.
This is some deep pressure in on that red buff. Glizzler might be in trouble.
Is able to dodge away from the charm by moving through the wall. It was a nice roam from Nightmare to try and catch out the Glizzler there. They're not quite able to do it. Kane just a little bit too slippery.
No, but this does drag Funny Dude all the way up here. This is a lot of time that Finny isn't really going to be able to contest this bot lane. It's going to be very dangerous for him.
Look at this damage from the Ahri already. Has the Malignance done for Nightmare. Really putting on the pressure here towards the mid lane. And this is absolutely, Dynasty, they're just continuing to follow the playbook.
Yeah, what was the number I gave, crewman? 29-36?
Yes, I do believe that was your prediction.
I'm starting to feel the energy. I'm starting to feel the mojo with the way that Dynasty has been playing this early game. They're setting themselves up to just continue to pressure through.
Yeah, the way things have been going so far, it does look like Agni Kai might be hard-pressed to make the game last that long. And that was a nice smite that we just saw from Batman as well. Steal away the Glizzler's blue buff. Try and keep the Kane from accelerating as much as he would like to.
Yeah, will seed this top side, though. Doesn't have the rotating timer on that could mean a Rift Herald and potentially some more gold in the pocket as someone who would love it, like Walk Warlock here.
Absolutely.
Oh
So,
no,
it
Finny.
has been consistent top priority. Oh, the turret down there is about to go down as well. That is going to be the first brick. Going over to Dynasty, and Grim to Fire picking that one up. Trying to chase down the Jhin now, but he is able to create enough space with the flash. And Grim to Fire, though, still holding on to his on the Xayah. So that's just more advantages being stacked up towards that bottom side of the map. It looks like the Glizzler will have enough time to finish off Shelly over there. Oh, actually, she's still got a little bit of a health bar. Udyr's not in the area, though, so should be all right.
Yeah, no chance of a sneaky steal with 3 members rotating over and Funny Dude on the way as well. Good dodge of the Diana ult, though.
Fox. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's honestly a little bit more of a whoopsie towards the Diana in that scenario. You can clearly see the Ahri has another... Speaking of whoopsies.
Yeah, you can't back Envision, man. That's disrespectful.
It's not it. Doing a little bit of window shopping, maybe. Guess we'll never know.
Fully completed Malignance on the Swain, by the way, alongside a ton of gold in pocket besides. It really is just a secondary carry alongside Nightmare at this point.
And Storm Surge, first item for Sox. How do we feel about Storm Surge right now, Alls?
I don't hate it. It's a good burst item. It'll always be a good burst item, and especially on assassins like Diana, you don't hate that. My concern is it's only valuable into Nightmare and Grim to Fire. Feathers is already too tanky. Batman is already too tanky. Even Fox, with the fully completed Malignance, starting to build towards those other items. Gotta check how many stacks of souls he has. He already has 27 souls pulled. There's already too much health for him to be in any threat either. Like, it's a good item for Diana. It just doesn't feel like a good item for Diana right here.
I think I'm pretty much in agreement there, Alls. Looks like we are going to see this first Infernal Dragon, as it is an Infernal Soul, on the table this game. This will go over to Dynasty, and a very powerful soul is going to be available later on. That is definitely something that both teams will need to consider.
Yeah, and there are 2 champions, well, 3 champions actually, with Walk Warlock that natively pop it on cooldown here, with the Mordekaiser, the Udyr, and the Swain. So whoever gets it is going to have a ton of extra damage in these team fights as they get that Infernal Soul buff again and again and again.
That will be extremely powerful. So, you know, if Dynasty are able to maintain map control and start stacking up those Infernals, you know, this game could snowball out of hand very, very quickly for the side of Agni Kai. You know, they're going to need to come online and set up a good team fight, you know, around these objectives before that point. You know, honestly, I feel like the next dragon... Oh, no. Funny Dude does not find the dredge line there. The anchor just not quite long enough, couldn't reach the seafloor, and he is going to get taken down. He's going to be sleeping with the fishes, that Nautilus.
That's going to be mid lane seated as well.
Might steals away the chickens as the mid turret does go down, as you say. Alls more control over this map going over towards Dynasty.
Boy, it just feels like they're being choked out here, and I have to say, crewman, letting this Swain through was an absolute crisis-level mistake. Glizzler going in deep here, though.
Featherstorm is going to come out as Kayn is in there with the Umbral Trespass. Does he have the damage, though? It's Red Kayn. He doesn't have the burst, and Glizzler is so deep now with the flash and the Q back towards his team. Looks like he is going to be able to get away. A lot of tools used on both sides there, but ultimately, I feel like it's Dynasty that are still winning out.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad attempt from this Agni Kai squad. Is not paying attention. Batman, you can't make Finny's mistake here. But ultimately, that's 3 ults and a flash. As Foxstepper might have Finny again here, just waiting on that E, and doesn't quite have it, but...
Flashing forward, Nightmare. Oh, that charm. It did not find the prediction, but the Never Move will be there. And Fox Step Pro, just right off the backboard, finds kill number 5. This Swain, you weren't kidding about AP carry.
Boy, at this point, it just feels greedy. Both the mid laner and support flashing forward for the 0-2 Jhin.
Yeah.
You
it's
don't
almost about
need
just
to
sending a message at that point, yeah.
But
absolutely right, Alls.
By the same token, Fox here, very, very close to that second item already. It just feels so bad as the enemy team to hold that tab and see that the Fed member on the other side is the support, and you actually have to be scared of him here.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. And Fox does like to go for these aggressive support champions. I saw he was playing a little bit of Brand support last week, something that really hasn't been in style as much since Brand became such a strong jungler. As a hook does land. Whoa, that's a shutdown. As I was a little bit distracted there, but Finny is going to get paid as they take down the formerly 5-0 Swain. And now Shelly's going to be arriving in the mid lane as well. But Dynasty, the rest of Dynasty is in position here to defend. And I don't know if Shelly's actually going to be getting off the charge.
Yeah, they're certainly
Charm
trying.
not going to land. Dredge line will. Nightmare gets pulled in. Depth charge comes out as well. Grim Defier, though, still holding on to the Feather Storm. And the Glizzler is taking a whole bunch of damage. They managed to take down the Ahri, but the Kayn is traded back. Nice pull through on the Feathers. A lot of damage onto Socks, and the Sacrificial Nautilus will have to come through here to try to get Finny and Socks out to safety. Batman moving forward. Can't chase underneath the turret, though. A pretty close fight. Props to Agni Kai for making it happen from behind as Batman barely able to get out of the curtain call. Socks goes in. Oh, with the shielding, Udyr just refuses to go down.
This is...
Flashes over the wall and annihilates the Jhin. And just as I was saying it all, it was a close fight until it wasn't.
Crewman. That was a 4v3 in favor of Agni.
Oh.
That should never have been that close on even footing. That was truly masterful by Dynasty there. Going from a numbers down fight to Grim Defier picking up 4 kills. Now 6-0-1 on this Xayah, inching closer and closer to that Flame Horizon mark. This is just a drubbing in the bot lane. There are no words for this.
Yeah, this game at this point, I think we can say, has officially gotten out of hand for Agni Kai. You know, we just saw Ornn winning out in the top side as well, able to get the top tier 1 feathers with the Demolish proc there. And, you know, Warlock had been having a great laning phase, right? The Mordekaiser had been chilling up there, but the rest of the map absolutely on fire for Agni Kai, unfortunately.
Yeah, and Wok, unfortunately, stalled out a little bit here. Stuck at around that 20 CS lead, can't find a kill onto Feathers, can't get unlocked to roam around towards other lanes and start helping them. It's tough, but as the top laner with the lead, you have to affect the map, and he just hasn't been able to do that. It's something that he'll have to improve moving forward, I suppose.
Yeah. Definitely the case. All's, you know, maybe the call from the team there is just like, we can't win a fight anyways, even if Mordekaiser does join us. So, you know, maybe just try to keep pushing towards that top side, but he really hasn't been able to accomplish anything doing that either. I mean, he's got the top tier 1 over there down to about 50%, but that's just not good enough. And, you know, I really feel like, honestly, if it was me, if I was on Agni Kai right now, my call would have definitely been to just all in on that last dragon fight. Because now that your opponents are on Infernal Soul Point, I feel like the pressure is just too much. In 4 minutes time, when the next dragon spawns, it's going to be impossible to play on this map. There are going to be no winning lines. No matter what Dynasty get, no matter what you do, Dynasty will be winning out. And it just feels pretty doomed, honestly, at this point.
Yeah, they have to stake it all on one final fight, whether it's around the Drake or around this Baron. But either way, I think it is win or die. Whichever fight you don't win will be the fight where Dynasty can just walk into your base and take the Nexus.
Yeah, I mean, at least the second ring of turrets is still standing for Agni Kai. They've managed to defend those thus far. But absolutely, you know, if the team fight win is decisive, if it is on Agni Kai's side of the map, then, you know, Dynasty absolutely could do a whole bunch of damage and even potentially look for a quick end to this one. As we're coming up on almost exactly 5 minutes until your predictionals.
Still feeling good here, Kroon. Still feeling like I'm at least gonna be close. I'm not sure if I'm gonna get it on the numbers, but
we'll see.
Only time will tell. One other concern here for Agni Kai as well, in terms of holding off and looking for that winning fight, is that Feathers is starting to get those ornaments out. Now level 15 has a couple to hand, and one of them
Swain
should
gets the first.
absolutely be going to Grim, and I think the second, you're right, should go to Fox here. Actually,
he already has
oh
it.
yeah, I see it.
Swain is the carry. Feathers know where his bread is buttered, and it's from the Birdman.
I mean, okay, maybe give the first one to Grim here, but again,
Well, are
it
these
is what
items,
it
do we
is.
actually know if the Zaya's items are upgradable? Because I mean, I really don't have actually any idea which items.
Yeah,
are
with the
and which
item
are not.
changes, it's so hard to remember. I do believe Kraken Slayer is upgradable, but don't quote me on that.
Well, yeah, I think regardless, we can't expect Grim to get that second ornament as soon as the Ornn does take level 15, which he just has. As Sox is getting surrounded, but does have the Glizzler here. It's an honest 2v2 towards the bottom side. Spirit Rush going to create some distance for Nightmare, and it will, in fact, be enough distance to get the RA out towards safety. Glizzler forced to just R onto the Udyr. Oh, the knockup does come through, and Nightmare will get taken down. A little bit sloppy there from the mid laner to get hit by the Kane's W, but the Glizzler will get taken down as well, and it's still a positive play for Dynasty Celestials.
40 seconds on the jungler. Ping should absolutely be coming down from Dynasty onto that Baron. Go ahead, take it. There's no combat power in this team. You can just push them away, take that neutral, and start to choke this map out entirely.
Yeah, just a little bit awkward because, of course, that fight did occur in the bottom lane, the farthest point on the map from Baron's pit. So just, you know, the act of walking across the map to get to Baron proved to be a little bit too time-consuming for Dynasty to actually make that the call. As Blue Buff, once again, will go to Batman. And Funny and Finny, they do have their top jungle respawning right now, but that was maybe a little bit aggressive to be hanging around in the jungle like that. They will be okay.
Yeah, TP down from Nightmare. Feathers walking down as well. All members here for this pivotal fight for the Infernal Soul, and there is very little
Sox.
vision as Sox is dead here.
Spirit Rush off cooldown once again. The Charm is going to miss. Moonfall about to come off cooldown, but it's not going to be in time. There goes the mid laner once again. Never move onto the Nautilus. Funny dude. Going to be able to rejoin the rest of the team. This time, the Charm will land, and that will mean the end of the Agni Kai support. He goes over to Nightmare, gets the last hit on that one. Forge God not going to find the knockups, but still, the Ornn himself will get the flash out of the Mordekaiser. And that's going to be Infernal Soul, just like that. I mean, Agni Kai couldn't even get close to the river. Dynasty denied them the option of contesting this soul before they could even try.
Yeah, and this will be a fairly quick take. Even without the ADC here, they can just burn through it so cleanly, crewman, and continue to push elsewhere. I mean, look at Finny having to stand so far back. Just the mere threat of existing in the same lane as anyone on this Dynasty squad is terrifying to him, and I don't blame him. They can all pop him like a balloon.
Yeah, it's just pretty impossible to play at this point for Jhin, and honestly, for all of Agni Kai. They are just so very, very far behind at this point. And I imagine it should be pretty straightforward for Dynasty from here. Let's just all 5 of us right-click towards Baron. Go ahead and take him down. As Glizzler, what are you doing over here, Mr. Glizzler? What's going on here?
Dying, apparently. Dying.
Why is he doing that?
In the enemy jungle with Baron on the map when the enemy is already ahead. Crewman, sign the death warrant. He and his team have fallen.
Yeah, this first game definitely very, very convincing for the side of Dynasty. Honestly, I was expecting and you know, sort of teasing you a little bit, and you know, before we were really coming on air, that I was expecting this to be a very, very close battle tonight. And I think a lot of other members of the community and players in the league were kind of expecting a tight battle tonight as well. But I mean, Agni Kai are going to have to make a lot of changes, it seems, going into game 2 for us to get that.
I am a little disappointed here. It does seem like my prediction on time is going to be a little bit too fast. Dynasty content to play this slow, as... Did we run into another pause, perhaps? Seems that way, but still, Dynasty very much in control, 18-4, an 11k gold lead. There's no doubt that they are just waiting for the end at this point.
But at least for Agni Kai, they are going to be able to continue their unbroken streak of having every game last longer than 30 minutes.
True.
So, that's something.
That is technically a moral victory, I suppose, crewman, if you want to look at it that way. As Wok,
I don't necessarily know if I want to or not, but I guess you could.
Wok finally interacting with someone other than Feathers and just gets bullied away from his turret. What an interaction.
Yeah. No way to defend that one. That was the right call, was to abandon that turret. Another charm lands for Nightmare, and Sox tries to dash back to a minion. Underneath the turret goes the Ahri, but has the arm guard to immune the turret aggro. That was cleanly done from Nightmare. Easy solo kill there towards the bot side. As the knockup's gonna land onto the Jhin. What was he doing that far forward? Oh, who am I kidding? It didn't even matter anyways. Glizzler's gonna go for the Emerald Trespass onto the Xayah, who's basically still full HP. He's immediately going to get popped like a balloon. And that is gonna be the Nexus going down. It did take just under 31 minutes for Dynasty Celestials, as Wok Warlock almost able to get the shutdown, but Xayah was still holding on to the Feather Storm. And yeah, that was actually the first death of the game for the Mordekaiser as the Nexus falls.
Boy, oh boy, crewman. What a win, and what a way for Dynasty to put their foot down and say that they are the better team here.
Certainly. I think that was the statement being made in this game number one. A very clear statement coming out from Dynasty Celestials. Even from very early on in this game, it felt like they knew exactly what their game plan was, and they were executing it very cleanly. I think we could have seen maybe some more charms land for Nightmare, especially given the fact that we know he is, a consummate Ahri player. He's very, very comfortable on this champion. So not the cleanest Ahri performance that we've ever seen, but that was a very nice solo kill towards the end. And obviously it did actually top out the damage charts here as well, 22k on the Ahri.
Yeah, I think he gave all of that skill shot hitting ability over to Fox, who did not miss an E the entire game, it felt like, and every E just about resulted in a kill. So, it balances out. Push and pull in all things.
Yeah, so, maybe it was they were dodging the E's and that allowed Swain to land all of his E's.
Exactly.
We could just say it was one of those kinds of situations. That definitely makes some sense, but not really too much to discuss, honestly, in this first game. Agni Kai were kind of able to hang on, but that mostly just felt like Dynasty were kind of a little bit leisurely in closing this one out. They probably could have pushed the envelope a little bit harder, just kind of chose not to. Or no, it's all right. We'll just, take the objectives when they spawn, and then, we'll deny our opponents from getting any resources, and then as soon as somebody gets out of position, then we'll kill them, and then we'll kind of end the game. But they were not in a rush. It certainly didn't feel like, that was the vibe from Dynasty at all. But very, very cleanly done in this first game. Do you have a Game 1 POG vote for us alls? Was it the Swain for landing all of those E's? Is it the Ahri for helping Swain land all of those E's? Is it the Ornn for playing a really solid weak side and never dying? Or Udyr for also never dying? What do you think?
Or Grim for also never dying.
True, very true.
All jokes aside here, I think it's hard to give any one player the player of the game because they all played so well. But at the end of the day, I do think it goes to the Swain. I think that those early lockdowns, the early feeding of Grimm's fire, and the ability for them to basically ignore the Jhin throughout the game was just so powerful that it allowed them to snowball very easily here.
I like it. As you say, Alls, there were strong performances across the board from Dynasty in this one, but it did feel like it kind of all began in the bot lane, right? And so for that reason, I think a Fox vote is very much in order. But guys, it is now time for a short break. Agni Kai try and rally themselves and craft some kind of game plan to come back into what might be a very uncompetitive series, guys. Don't go anywhere. Game 2 right after this. right, ladies and gents, welcome to our champion select phase for game number 2 between Agni, Kai, and Dynasty. Celestials, Agni, Kai, as the losers of game 1, have decided to move over to the blue side for this second game. But I think that is just going to have to be the beginning of the story. What other changes would you like to see in order to give Agni, Kai a little bit more of a fighting chance in this second game?
Well, step 1 is what they've already done, which is banning away the champions that work. Turns out, Swain does not need to exist in the bot lane, and when he is allowed to exist for Dynasty, it goes very, very poorly.
For their opponents.
Well, yes.
Yeah. I think that's fair to say, but I do also think that Fox has some other picks that he can still go towards. I mentioned the brand earlier. There's a lot of aggressive supports these days that can be very, very problematic.
Yeah, but it's just the start, crewman, because step 2 is, if you're going to play for late game, draft for late game. I don't mean to say, pick 1 or 2 late game champs. Pick a team that can get you to late game and then stay competitive as late game extends. Because as you said, this is a team that loves to play those 30, 40, 45-minute games. The teams that win at 45 minutes have very different champions than the teams that win at 20. And I think Agni Kai needs to be a little bit more intentional about drafting towards that first camp.
They are going to be able to deny the Ahri this time around, as they are the ones on excuse me, on blue side. The B1 Ahri priority, it looks like, will continue, but the Caitlyn was left open. This is the ban that was dropped to get the Swain off the table, and now Caitlyn available. Looks like that will get scooped up by Grim.
Yeah, champion that's loved in solo queue by Grim. 16 games, 70% win rate. That's a pretty high number, my friend.
100.
And admittedly, a small sample size, but still, very scary champion on a player that has already shown that they can pilot with a high degree of skill.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what this guy did in the lane on Xayah last game. Now imagine what he can do with the Caitlyn during the laning phase. That is very, very threatening, definitely. And I really like what you were saying before as well, as we see the Amumu come through on the R2 there for Dynasty. But it does feel like Agni Kai's whole strategy of, waiting till mid-game and then out-teamfight your opponent is pretty decisively countered if your opponent can find a huge lead early on. So definitely Agni Kai going to need to find some way to mitigate that. But Dynasty, I mean, already with this Caitlyn pick, are indicating that is absolutely what they are going to be looking for. And the Ezreal, such a passive bot laner as well. I don't know if he can do much to try to stop this Caitlyn from putting on the pressure down there. The Vi will come through as well, so this is a very strong mid-jungle duo.
I don't really hate the Ezreal here, because it gives Finny tools. Finny did not have any tools to protect themselves last game. When the Jhin was engaged on, the Jhin was dead. End of. This time, they have the Arcane Shift, they have the ability to throw back damage easier in those early levels. Well, I don't think they'll have a good time into the Caitlyn by any stretch of the imagination. At least they're giving themselves the chance. They're not walking out without a sword and shield.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. The Ezreal at least can play a little bit safer. He does have a similar range to the Jhin, right? So, theoretically, if Jhin is staying far enough back, then he doesn't need those escape tools, right?
Well,
but not really how we saw things work out in the last game. So definitely a little bit of a different look this time around for the Agni Kai bot laner, and I think it could work out a little bit better for the reasons that you were just highlighting for us. And it looks like we will be seeing some top lane focus in this second ban phase once again. The Mordekaiser is going to get denied here, as we did see, of course, it was Walk Warlock with pretty solid Mordekaiser performance in the last game, even though that was not enough in the end. And Urgot, and let's see what this last ban, is it going to be the Ornn? Will we deny the Ornn? Because I'm pretty sure if we leave Ornn open here, then Feathers is just going to happily lock away his Forge God and, not think too much more about it. And yeah.
Yeah, I don't hate the Alawi ban here. I think it's perfectly fine to lock Feathers away from something that can become a major threat in the side lane. Because the Ornn is great in teamfights, does a ton of value there, but it's not something that's going to split push. It's not something that's going to tear your team apart. So it
That's
does force
true.
them to play a little bit more passively, and given how game one went, they're more than happy to lock that in.
Yeah. I mean, he's gonna play passively, but I mean, that's what he wants to do anyway with this team.
True,
Like, he
true.
knows his carries are gonna get so far ahead. All he has to do is be a frontline for them in the team fights, and they're probably gonna be able to clean things up once again. I mean, look at what Dynasty are putting together over here. They've got Caitlyn, Victor, and then all of this frontline, all of this engaged to set them up. It's looking so promising for them. Agni Kai, though, they do have some tools to scrap early on, and the Volibear will continue that trend. So I think I do really like what we're seeing from Agni Kai here. They're giving themselves some really good tools in the early game so that they can try to be the ones who find that early lead.
Yeah, but there is that one major question mark here, crewman, and that's the Amumu. Is that going to be a jungle Amumu or a support Amumu? Because if it's support, this duo becomes unfathomably scary at the early levels. And Agni Kai is going to have to be incredibly careful, especially if they lock in this Lux. That's no mobility, that's no health, that's so dangerous, crewman.
That does feel very dangerous. It definitely feels like a call from Agni Kai where they're like, yeah, we have this Ezreal. We know the Caitlyn is going to want to play aggressive though, and they're on blue side here. They have to lock something in, and they are going to decide to try to fight fire with fire. They're going to want to try and keep this Caitlyn pushed in, so try to deny her from getting value. But I feel like
Ooh.
that's just playing right into the Dynasty playbook. You know that this support over here, Fox, is not scared of an aggressive matchup, and we are going to see double ranged on both sides down towards that bot lane.
And scarily, crewman, when you are outranged as Lux Ezreal, you are in trouble. Vel'Koz able to just snipe you with those triangle techs from all the way across the lane. Caitlyn with the Piltover Peacemaker able to shred through the minion wave. Sure, it doesn't have quite the same engage and pressure power as the Amumu support would have, or as the Swain support had last game. But again, Finny, if they misplay at all in this lane, if they don't give themselves enough breathing room, they're going to be right in the same spot that they were in game one.
Yeah, and I think that is really going to be kind of the crux of this game, at least early on, right? Is I think that's where we're going to have to look, is this bot lane, right? We need to see Finny and Funny just being able to match up against their opponents, because that's really what was missing for Agni Kai. That's where things really started to fall apart, right? Was in that bottom lane. So if the Ezreal Lux can manage to trade back relatively evenly, or at least not fall too far behind, and, not be giving over all of their turret plates to Caitlyn in the first 10 minutes of the game, then I think Agni Kai, like I said earlier, they do have a lot of tools here to try and make some stuff happen, especially towards the mid game, and, even a little bit earlier on as well. But can they get there is really the question, I think.
I think a lot of pressure is going to be on this top lane, because that's where a lot of the power is in the early game. Yeah, Ahri has the charm, but a lot of the onus will be on Vi, on Glizzler, to win that in terms of taking down the Victor early. Bot lane, I think, as we've mentioned, is not going to be particularly fun for Agni Kai in the early game, and Volibear, so good in the early levels, falls off so hard, so we need to see Wok not just win, but win hard so that he can unleash and go into the other lanes and make use of the leads that he's finding. So I think that's where it's going to hinge for Agni.
It's so hard, though, Alls. You're playing into Feather's Ornn. How are you supposed to play aggressive into this guy? He's just going to clear every single wave underneath his turret and not care. And he's going to be chilling.
Set up dives. You have Volibear. You hit that level 6, you hit the R button. Sure, the timer isn't long, but you stop it long enough. You can get the reset on the turret ramp. You can do so much here to control the flow of the top lane. You just have to actually pull the trigger.
All right. I mean, I think that's, it's a game plan that could work. And Wok was obviously probably the best performing member of Agni Kai in that previous game, sort of the lone strong point on the map. So, maybe that is the best plan for Agni Kai, to play really aggressively towards that top side, just do everything to try and get that matchup snowballed in Wok's favor and facilitate him moving around the map, like you said. But I can't help thinking, Alls, that even if that works, right? Even if in a hypothetical world, you kill Feathers like 5 times underneath this turret, you destroy the turret, pre 14 minutes, you get all those turret plates. Volibear is super accelerated. One, it's a Volibear. He is going to fall off very hard, and he's playing against Victor, Caitlyn, Vel'Koz, like all of this range, all of this tank shred. And if you are playing super aggressively towards that top side, Alls, you're leaving your bot lane alone, isolated, vulnerable to this extremely aggressive pushing Caitlyn Vel'Koz lane and an Amumu who can easily come down there and dive them. So, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think I agree that Agni Kai probably their greatest chance for success is to play towards top side. But again, I feel like that just plays into Dynasty's game plan as well.
Yeah, sure, but where is the Vi gonna gank there? Because Lux is never gonna hit the light bindings. Caitlyn and Vel'Koz play too far back. If she manages to find an angle with the Vault Breaker, Caitlyn has 90 cal, Vel'Koz has the Eruption, they're going to be able to get away, even if it does cost them the flash. And if it does cost the flash, then Amumu just sits. He stays in that lane forever, and suddenly Ezreal and Lux are the ones under threat. I don't see an angle where Glizzler can actually make anything happen down there.
Well, it's certainly an interesting dilemma, and I think it will, in large part, come down to Glizzler and what they decide is going to be their best option, right? Where they think the best angles are going to be for Agni Kai in this game, what they think the game plan should be. Because Vi can be very powerful early on, right? You do have some really great tools to try and get one or more of your lanes ahead, but it's going to be difficult overall. Alls, I mean, I do think that this Game 2 draft is an improvement for Agni Kai, and they have managed to take the Ahri now for themselves. But will it be enough? Which draft are you feeling heading into Game 2?
Based on how Game 1 went, I think I still give it to Dynasty. I think, as you said, this draft is a lot closer. It's a significant improvement, but they just played better. They took a draft very similar to this and were dominant from the word go. Agni Kai is going to need to do a ton to step up and prove me wrong.
Well, what if we turn the nameplates off, hypothetically? What if we, hit all the nameplates, the team names, everything, just the champions in isolation? Does that change your answer at all?
It turns it into much more of a coin flip. It turns it much more dependent on those first 10, 15 minutes.
All right.
If they go well, it's Agni's. If it goes neutral to bad, Dynasty has this.
Certainly has not necessarily been Agni Kai's strengths so far this season, as being proactive and finding big leads in the early game. But it does kind of feel like that is what they are going to need to do to have a chance in this matchup against Dynasty Celestials after Dynasty took such a commanding win in that game number 1. But we've only got about a minute left on the spectator delay, guys. We're going to be getting back onto the Rift very soon. But first, a short break. We'll see you on the other side. All right, my otter friends, welcome back to Summoner's Rift for our second game of the night. Agni Kai now seeing if they can bounce back here on the blue side for game number 2, and Dynasty Celestials now on the red side, once again with a draft that absolutely speaks to their strengths. See if they can give us the quick 2-0 here tonight and get themselves solidly in that top 2 position here in the Plat League.
That was some fascinating ships in the nighting going on up there with the top laners, wasn't it, crewman?
It was pretty fascinating. Both top laners also taking the teleport in this one. Also a little bit fascinating, not necessarily all that surprising. But, I think there was maybe an angle for the Volibear to go Ignite if they were going to play super aggressively towards the top side.
Yeah, I am concerned that it is going to be an incredibly aggressive Volibear looking at that lethal tempo. This is a Volibear that's going to be wanting to kill, not a Volibear that's going to be wanting to take extended trades as we'd see with, say, a Conqueror. So, very curious how that's going to work out. That's not a rune that I've seen very often on Volibear, if at all.
Do you think there's any possibility also that we could get the Mage Bear in this one?
If it was Mage Bear, I don't think it would be El Tempo.
What rune does Mage Bear usually go?
Ooh, I do not know offhand.
Well, maybe it's Lethal Tempo. You don't know.
It could very well be Lethal Tempo. I will do some digging and I will get back to you.
Oh, that's a Q flash from the Glizzler in the mid lane. Nightmare is going to have to flash away. So pretty solid start. I actually love that. That's one of my favorite plays on the Vi as well, is red buff into mid gank at level 2. And Glizzler is going to be able to trade flashes with the Victor, which you have to say is a positive trade for Agni Kai.
Yes, although Funny Dude joining that roam is a little bit awkward because it let Grim and Fox get level 2 so much earlier, push Finny in very deep, and you can see the wave already prepared to bounce here in the bot lane. Gonna make ganking down there impossible for Glizzler, even if you were to rotate down there after his full clear.
Yeah, definitely Grim and Fox down there towards the bottom side already off to a reasonably good start. As a walk, able to get off a nice trade into the Ornn up here early on. Both junglers are going to be towards the top side of the map. Mumu just going for the full clear. Bot to top. Vi, of course, with a little bit of a more creative pathing. Does now have the level 3 after going red-blue into the Gromp. And now, where will the Glizzler go?
Yeah, looking towards mid again. Nightmare
Flashless
doesn't
Victor.
have a flash, but reads
Fox,
this very well.
Yeah, the Victor just a little bit too far back. Nothing there. Crab's going to spawn. About 15 seconds. Vi now moving back towards the bot side.
Yeah, good stun there means Nightmare is going to be able to clear pretty much the entirety of this wave, even low on mana, even without any upgrades. So, not particularly pressed given all the pressure that's come his way.
Absolutely. He's doing just fine for now, as even in CS, as you mentioned. It's just, doing his Victor thing in the mid lane, clearing those minions for now. So the Scuttle Crabs will get traded. Yeah, I mean, the Glizzler is feeling the pressure, right? He desperately wants to try to make something happen early, but now Sock's very far forward. Might have to flash away from this. And Mumu is the flash for the bandage toss, but it is a little bit telegraphed, and Sock is going to be able to get away. Batman, though, might have another charge of the Q. Not going to go for it. Is going to go and investigate the South River. We'll discover that Vi had already secured that bottom crab, and now Glizzler going to find him with a Vault Breaker. Batman is going to go in with the bandage toss here, but the move is first from Agni Kai mid, and the charm will land. That's going to be a dead Amumu. First blood over to Agni Kai, and it goes on to the Ahri.
Yeah, that's a little bit of over-aggression from Batman. Sure, you are a level up, but Amumu not necessarily known for his dueling prowess here. So
Certainly not.
we'll give that up. However, is much faster on the clears because Glizzler has spent so much time sitting AFK around this mid lane as Walk doing some good damage here on the feathers.
And that's a W, and that's gonna be the solo kill. Walk Warlock once again doing very nicely in the 1v1. Yeah, a little bit more though. We need more acceleration for this Volibear.
Hey, this time crucially, actually picking up the kills instead of just farm. That's a big improvement over last game where he couldn't ever actually get this orange to gray screen.
Very true. Very, very true.
Oh no, Funny Dude is dead.
Yeah, Funny Dude is pretty dead. Well, he does have a flash. He's going to create a little bit of space there, but I think there's going to be another bandage toss. It doesn't even need it, as the Grim will be able to lock that one away. And now the Glizzler also dead. It's a double kill for Grim. Oh, I've seen this one before, alls. And now the Ezreal is going to get hit by the Vel'Koz Q, and it's going to be... Is it another Peacemaker? Oh, thank goodness. It's still on cooldown for Grim, or surely that was a triple.
Finny is sticking around, though. Grim has the flash. Finny. This is... the same mistake from game 1, crewman. Why have we rewound the tapes?
You gotta go home, Finny. It's not it, Finny. You can't stay underneath that turret, Finny. It's not allowed.
All right, back's coming through. Thank goodness.
Okay, maybe it is allowed. Okay.
Oh,
I guess the Vel'Koz is also extremely low. I didn't realize how low Fox was there. So.
Even so, the fact that Grim was half health, had red buff, and was looking to flash Peacemaker, that's terrifying, man.
It is. Grim is he's a scary guy. He might be one of the scariest guys actually in the entire league. You know, the way we've been seeing things shape up so far. On the bright side, though, Agni, actually, Vi has peeled off the dragon as the Caitlyn and Vel'Koz lane has stuck around. Glizzler is gonna, that was so clean. He flashes over the light binding, picks up his third kill. Grim now on a killing spree, and the Glizzler is taking a long time to try and finish off this Vel'Koz. They will get him in the end, and the kill actually does go over to the Ezreal, which is pretty much ideal for Agni Kai. Sox, Spirit Rush forward, finds the charm. The Q comes back off cooldown. Nightmare is going to be going down to the Ahri number 2 for Sox in the mid lane. Ahri, I think, very critical pick between these two mid laners. You can really see the comfort for Sox on this one as well.
Yeah, desperately needed a little bit of hope here for Agni Kai, getting some kills early, getting some pressure. However, Grim is big. Grim is massive.
Oh, it's disgusting.
And that's still a little bit concerning here, crewman, regardless of the way that mid is going.
Yeah. I mean, we saw what he can do last game as well, and it's just going to be really tough, I think. You know, Finny and Funny have been doing pretty good, honestly, so far down here. Like, it was really just that one fight that really went sideways for them. You know, they're able to been able to farm pretty evenly so far. But Grim now has a base off after getting a triple kill, and he is definitely starting to hurt.
Yeah, the poke coming through from Fox, not anything to sneeze at either, is Glizzler applying a little bit of pressure here in the mid lane, but boy, are those CS numbers hurting. Amumu, not a fast farmer compared to Vi, but is up, what is that, 5 camps at this point? 4.5? Not a great look.
Yeah. Right around there, and it's because the Glizzler has been trying to be so active on the map, right? Has been trying to set up all these plays and you know, have an impact in these lanes. But, you know, the Mumu is just being very efficient with the farming. Oh my god, already the Caitlyn ult does half of Lux's HP bar? What? Oh, the Vel'Koz ult, he's just dead.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Not allowed to exist from the word go. Good grief, crewman. You feel so bad for this bot lane. It's not entirely their fault.
Arm, lands, in mid lane, Sox though. Oh, I think he had Spirit Rush there. I wonder if maybe he committed the ultimate, if that was maybe another kill.
Yeah, could have looked for it. Nightmare may still die here anyway, as there comes the Spirit Rush, but it's not enough.
Get the flash. Yeah, Nightmare does have to burn the flash. Is quick enough, though, to get away from that Ahri combo. But Sox definitely putting on the pressure here towards the mid lane, and Vi is going to be able to get only one grub, as actually it was Amumu able to get a couple of them earlier on. Well, the Vi did get the dragon as well, which is great to see. Vi does love taking dragons. She's very good at it.
And back canceled here for Sox to Thighs. That gives Nightmare some good space. Has been fairly even on the CS as well. So doing a good job here holding their own.
That is very true. Only the one death so far, that one solo kill for Sox that we did see earlier. But Victor, as you say, has been for the most part holding on very nicely, playing respectfully, right, without flash, not pushing up, not exposing himself to any Vi ganks or things like this.
Yeah. Finny, you can't walk up like this, forced to arcane shift defensively very quickly.
Okay, he is Ezreal, he's alright.
Fully completed Yomus, though, for Grim here. Just
Yikes.
so brutal.
Yeah, he's got the extra Dorans and Longsword on top.
And
Definitely here comes another ace in the hole. Yeah, about half of Ezreal's health bar. Seems fair and balanced to me.
I mean, look, the Caitlyn ult has a whole 60-second cooldown at this point. That's enough time for him to regen almost a quarter.
60 whole seconds. That's more than 59 seconds, even.
True.
Nice.
So true, crewman. Look at you, an absolute balanced genius here. Straight from
They
the
tell
halls
us
of
not
Riot.
to do math on stream, but I was feeling pretty confident with that one. So
Yeah, I'm an engineer, as long as it's within an order of 10.
yeah. So another nice charm landing there in the mid lane. Sox, though, using the Spirit Rush as well. I don't know if there was really too much of an angle with Victor underneath his turret, but just trying to be aggressive, right? Trying to put the pressure on this guy. As another nice Q comes out from the Ahri, but via Chaos Storm in response. Another nice charm, though. Flash forward Batman. Oh, but the cease and desist onto the Victor should be a kill, and yes, it is. Sox coming through with another orb. And the 2v2, that's the power of the Vi Ahri, right? Agni Kai able to make it happen towards the mid lane. Meanwhile, Feathers existing.
Doing his job.
Yes, he is doing a great job of existing, in fact.
At Piltover Peacemaker, one more of those, and Finny is dead. With that damage, that'll be another couple of plates down here in the bot lane, crewman. Grim just continuing to accelerate. Sox needs to start thinking about roaming here.
It just feels almost formulaic at this point. It feels like, pre-written, preordained that this is just how the bot lane is going to go. That was all Grim needed was those couple of kills. And this just feels so doomed down here now.
I just want to check.
Ezreal can't play.
I mean, okay, the gold difference is almost the same as the gold difference in the mid lane, which is why it doesn't look too bad here. But still, 1600 on this back. Grim is just so powerful, and look at that damage on the Sox.
Oh, the ace in the hole. Oh my god, he's alive. Oh, the shift forward, Finny. Okay, that's what you like to see from your Ezreal. He identifies the moment when the cooldowns are down. He can shift forward, picks up a kill, his second of the game. Maybe Finny can still find a way back in this one.
Oh no, Sox on a ward.
Sox. He has no flash or ultimate. He does have a blast cone, though. Should be able to get away.
Yeah, this is not a fight that Dynasty really wants to take because Grim has all that gold in pocket. He doesn't have the combat strength right now, but they're looking for it anyway.
But they know Ahri isn't here. Yeah, they know that Sox cannot be here. It was chunked out, no teleport. So at the very least, at the worst, rather, it would be an even fight for Dynasty. As one Warlock here behind the turret playing very aggressively as the Dragon will go over. So we're tied up now in Dragons 1-1 as Dynasty managed to secure that one.
Feeling better this game than last game, crewman. At least they have winning lanes, winning members. They have to start dealing with Grim, though.
Member before as well with Warlock. It technically was winning last game also, but yeah, now to see Sox having such a strong performance in the mid lane now as well is definitely giving a few more angles over to Agni Kai. Of course, they would have really liked to get that second dragon as well to try and start stacking themselves up towards what is once again, it looks like an Infernal Soul for us, unless the spectator overlay is playing tricks on me once again.
No, this is the Infernal Rift, my friend. Once again, we have a Fire Drake.
Yeah, so obviously, once again, going to be very, very powerful for both teams if they do manage to lock that one down. As Vi, oh, that's a nice Spear Rush over the wall into the charm. It's a clean Ahri combo as Sox made that one look effortless.
Nightmare just not paying attention, not respecting the damage that could come out from an Ahri and Bush. And really struggling this game. I mean, yeah, the Victor is going to scale, but we've seen what Ahri can do. So this is starting to get a little bit concerning, especially with the Rift Herald picked up. they can look to break that mid turret and really unleash Sox upon this map. Because for all his kills, still hasn't roamed, still hasn't affected anywhere else just yet.
Yeah, he did try to go bot lane that one time, but he teleported onto a ward and then almost immediately died, as Funny Dude will also almost die. And that's going to be Vel'Koz flashing, almost finds the Q, but barely. It will miss, and Funny Dude will survive as the turret is going to get taken out. The turret will not survive, as Shelly looking to do some work towards this top side, though. Feathers is going to have to vacate the area. Does get hit by the Vault Breaker, but Vine not willing to commit the ultimate, which I think is correct. You don't really want to use that on an Ornn in pretty much any situation. So, yeah, that is going to be traded, actually, those tier 1 turrets across the map. Agni, Kai, still very much in this one, but your point that you were just making previously, very much still a question that they're going to have to answer. Mid. Oh, yes, Rift Herald is in the mid lane, but the Chaos Storm and a laser from the Victor are, I think, will deny, yes, Shelly from getting another charge off. It was close, though. It was a cute attempt from the Glizzler to try and steer Shelly towards another lane. Not quite able to make it happen, though.
Yeah, I love that play from Walk. A little bit of awareness, knowing that you can do that, driving them all the way across the map, but just a little bit too low. Can't get everything you ask for. Still, buys more space for Sox to Thighs, who starting to have some of these trades
once
go
again.
Bad.
Forward with the Spirit Rush, the Gravity Well comes down, but that's just not very effective against Ahri. It's a nice sidestep on the Charm, but it's just not enough, as Sox is already so fed and is just eating this Victor alive. Oh, that would have been a dead Ahri, though, if Finny was not in the right place at the right time to save Sox's life.
I don't know, crewman. I feel like you're taking the wrong message from that. Yeah, Nightmare died, but Sox was one laser away from dying to an 0-3 Victor while being 4-0.
Yeah.
That's not great.
That is true, as that's a Q flash. That's a nice setup. But, oh, can they get Grim? The Caitlyn is going to flash away. The Volley Bear is on top of her, and down she goes. Finny able to pick up the maxed out shutdown, and now Batman is running out of room to work with. He does have a blast going over there. The Mumu's going to try and get away from this one. Does have his top laner that could theoretically move down as well. The Feathers, your jungler, Feathers. He's going to commune with the Forge God. Will it be enough? Walk Warlock still on the chase. The Brittle proc for the stun as well. Guys, you just need to run. You just got to keep running. Follow your jungler, Feathers. Get out of there. The True Shot Barrage is going to finish off the Amumu. And now the Ornn might be in a little bit of trouble as Ahri is here. Spirit rushing forward. Sox, one more charge on that one. Is he going to look for it? He will. Tanky Ornn, though, can't take him down. Just a little bit too tanky for an Ahri, even one that's this fed. But look at this now, Alls. Agni Kai coming alive.
Yeah, 11-5. They're starting to get these kills racked up. As Grim might have found Sox here, forces the flash out. Here.
Sox going to flash away. The Ace in the Hole is going to come out as well. Will be nicely blocked by the Glizzler. Good distance on the Vault Breaker there.
Yeah, Agni, they are picking up these kills. They are putting pressure down. Crucially, crewman, the gold difference is 100.
That's true. And it's 11-5. So you would normally expect that to be a larger number.
You would at least hope so, right? But in this case, the farm leads just doing work right now as Glizzler pushed away from this crab means they're not going to have vision around this Drake. Means that Dynasty rather can start stacking towards this soul point, perhaps. Start pressuring for some of these alternative
really
win cons.
As the team's getting ready to square up here in the mid lane, a good old-fashioned NA ram for us here in the middle of game number 2. Would be Agni Kai's moment to shine. Sox with ultimate available. Have the Spirit Rush ready to go at a moment's notice, but the Glizzler actually moving up towards the enemy topside jungle. So it looks like the call from Agni Kai is actually to give this one up.
Yeah, and good read from Dynasty recognizing it immediately as soon as Walk and Sox back. They're going to seed what looks to be 2 camps here overall to the Glizzler, but the total value here for Batman and crew, I think, is higher. That's a little bit of an odd play to me from this Agni Kai roster, as Nightmare's dead again.
He's going to be dead again. Yeah, he's super dead. Yeah, I mean, just overstaying, over-pushing down there towards the bottom side. But that is definitely a very intriguing call. One, why do you think Agni Kai made that call? And then do you agree with it?
I mean, the health bars were a little bit low. The fight would have been a little bit awkward. And with the team that is built here from Dynasty, between the Ornn and the Amumu, they have better 5-on-5 combat potential than, say, Wok and Glizzler and Sox, who prefer those one versus many, many versus one fights. That being said, I don't like the call from a macro perspective. I think it's a bit awkward. I think it gives Dynasty another win con, and you're winning on kills. You're not far ahead in gold. You can't give that extra space, the room to breathe, even if it's just something small like a Drake 2. You want to start using your advantages, your Fed members, to choke out the enemy team, so giving it up here doesn't feel great.
Yeah, I mean, when you're playing against a team as strong as this, as strong as Dynasty Celestials, then, you know, things can turn very, very quickly. You know, they don't need much to find an angle to get themselves back into a game, even from a losing position like this. But, you know, it is going to probably be quite a while before the victor is going to be useful, as we do watch him die again in the side lane.
Also, admittedly, I hate seeing them use 2 ultimates on a champion who's worth 150 gold. That's just not a good look to me.
That's fair. That's fair. But at the same time, there's not really many other good targets that have been presenting themselves.
I suppose.
So, you know, were you really going to get value out of those in the immediate future anyways? And the Ahri ultimate especially is just such a short cooldown already that you kind of just throw that one out whenever, as that is going to be a flash out from Finny that was absolutely necessary to get away from the advantage toss.
And I think that was necessary to keep both Finny and Funny Dude alive there, because the Curse of the Mummy was available. If Batman had gotten that bandage toss in, both of them are very dead. Very
true. So, good looks from Funny. Keep himself and his lane mate alive for now, as the Ezreal is chunked pretty severely, but he's okay for now. As the teams are going to find themselves one another towards this topside river. As the Scuttle Crab will go the way of Agni Kai, and Batman's forced to back away.
Yeah, not the end of the world there. It's just a Scuttle Crab. Finny, that was 2/3 of his health with one ultimate.
What are we looking at here? It's a Collector Ghostblade. As Glizzler is going to find the Q flash, and the cease and desist onto the Vel'Koz, though. That's not actually the target that you necessarily wanted. He is going to potentially be able to get out here. As Grim actually is going to flash forward on the Caitlyn. Really wants to get a kill back, but maybe a little bit too aggressive, as Vinny's going to be able to finish him off with the shift, and Grim overplaying their hand a little bit.
Yeah, I appreciate the aggression there, but you know that Finny is around. You don't have the E to combo through the way you want to into a higher health target, so just a little bit too aggressive there, and especially with the cleanse, you don't have as much combat power into a pure damage matchup, so just a little bit of a misread there, and now at 4-2 versus a 6-0 Ezreal, starting to lose some of that early runway that he had built up here.
Very true, and, you know, would you say... Do you think it's fair to say that Ezreal scales better than Caitlyn?
Oh, absolutely. Caitlyn peaks around the 2 to 3 item mark historically, and really hasn't particularly changed even with the new items.
Batman's going to find Funny here with the bandage toss. Going to commit the ultimate as well. Only on a single target, but they are going to be able to take that target down very, very effectively. Kill does go over to Fox on the Vel'Koz. They are second of the game, as the Q is going to land as well. Ace in the hole, thankfully, on cooldown for the moment, but Finny definitely going to need to be careful as Glizzler manages to get away with the Vault Breaker, slowed up. The bandage toss not going to come through, as Volibear doing a little side laning done.
Yeah, gotta start pushing the pressure, and looks like he's going on hit Volibear, which is not one that I hear a ton.
Yeah. That is definitely an intriguing combination of items that the Warlock has put together for himself. Is not going to be that tanky, but he is going to do quite a lot of damage. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, as this is very big for Dynasty if they can lock this one away, which it looks like they absolutely will, as the Glizzler on the other side of the map. And You know, the other one, the previous Infernal Dragon, I think was debatable, right? If you think you're not in a good position to go for that fight, you can give it up. But that, I think, was clearly a mistake from Agni Kai, as Sox will be able to Spirit Rush away. Actually goes back in, finds a lot of damage onto Fox, but now the Ace in the Hole comes out. The True Shot Barrage actually will finish off the Dynasty support. And that is, you know, nice for Agni Kai to get another kill, but if you're going to give over Infernal Soul to Lethality, Caitlyn, Victor, and Vel'Koz, it just doesn't seem like a winning line to me, alls.
No, but at the same time, they're starting to get advantages in these fights, which is huge. Walk now looking to tear through feathers. However, there are reinforcements coming up. Yeah, this is a little bit dangerous for Walk.
Does have the Stormbringer and the Flash. We'll use the Flash first, then goes for the ultimate to try and create some space. Glizzler is here now. Reinforcements have arrived. Actually, Nightmare flashing into the Vaiku. Very unfortunate for the Victor, and Volibear is going to clean him up. Okay, I take back everything I said. Agni Kai know exactly what they're doing.
Agni Kai knows what they're doing, and more importantly, Dynasty is not playing with intention here. They're just kind of screwing around a little bit, giving Agni a ton of opportunities here that really, if they played this game as clean as they played game one, would never have been an option.
Yeah, I mean, and this is a shocking performance, honestly, from Nightmare. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, he had a great performance. Well, he had a very solid performance in game number one. Wasn't necessarily the main carry of the team or anything, but he was playing well. But this is just Grim almost dies to the Ahri combo there, but just barely will survive. One more charge on the Spirit Rush. Sox thinking about going back in. Will think better of it as the rest of Dynasty move in. Batman finds the bandage toss onto Finny. Lux does have her flash, holding onto it for now. Some of the Victor damage starting to come through. Batman flashing forward, wants to get off the Amumu ultimate, but it's on cooldown. I think Batman thought he had his ult, but he actually didn't. The Ace in the Hole will come out and finish off the Ahri. Her first death of the game, actually.
Yeah, and that will be a big shutdown.
It will, and it did go on to Grim as well. So, you know, that is pretty massive. But this game is kind of going off the rails here, honestly, Ols.
Yeah, I don't think there were any tracks in the first place, crewman. But
fair enough.
Agni does have a 6,000 gold lead. They do have turret takes in all three lanes, so they have pushing lanes naturally. And they can start to look for this Baron, one would think, but not a whole lot of vision set up around it by either team. Nobody's really been contesting it, and with 2 minutes to go until the potential Infernal Soul, it's so scary for Agni to try and pressure around it because they could very well just have it seated and give up the soul entirely, pardon me.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Agni Kai are just allergic to objectives this game. Like, they, with the position that they're in, you know, it's a massive lead. They've got several extremely strong members, including both of their carries, are very, very powerful. Ezreal has 8 kills, for goodness sakes. But they're not playing around these objectives at all. They're just not setting up. They're not contesting. They're not getting control. And I don't know why.
It's just not a priority for them. They're more concerned with kills. And it's part of the reason, crewman, that despite this being 20-7, which is an absolutely dominating score in theory, it's only a 5,000 gold lead. You would expect turrets to be taken left and right. You would expect this to be 3-4 Drakes to nil. But no. Dynasty keeping this close, keeping this interesting, simply because Agni is seeding those neutral objectives and a lot of the macro pressure.
Yeah, and you know, it is still gonna honestly be a little while before Dynasty's team fighting really starts to become too threatening. I mean, Victor is still trying to put together his second item, while Ahri is closing in on her third. So, like, the power levels are still very much overall in favor of Agni Kai here. But the longer this game goes, I just feel like, you know, the gold lead, all those kills that they got earlier on are just going to start to mean less and less. Feathers, we can see level 15 now giving out his second ornament. Both bot laners now having their upgraded item. And we really just need to see Agni Kai starting to accelerate this game very, very soon, as Batman could be in trouble. They don't know exactly what's going on over here. Sox does move in to get some vision, but the blue buff will be locked away by the Amumu. This Nightmare starts to move over as well. Flash for the Q. Oh, but Glizzler maybe a little bit too far ahead. As Batman's going to move in and find the Curse of the Sad Mummy. The Victor does go down, but the Ari is going to get traded back, and that is not an even trade for Agni Kai, and now Glizzler's too far forward. He is going to get punished by the Squid. And now 2 for 1 in favor of Dynasty, and the Dragon is alive. The Juggler's dead. Oh, what's going on?
Walk Warlock is here in the back. This could be very dangerous for them.
He doesn't have Smite holes.
Doesn't have Smite, but they could look to win the fight here. This is so chaotic. Look, Grim Defier is right there. Walk looking to go onto him as Feather's trying to zone, and
it's gonna be Inferno, so
that'll be it. Yeah.
You can't, the team fights now, I mean, I don't even care about all the kills you got earlier. I favor Dynasty now in the team fights with Infernal Soul, and honestly, I don't even know if it's particularly close.
Yeah, Infernal Soul is worth so much in combat stats that it does close this 3,000 gold cap super effectively. The Victor isn't going to get any less valuable. He's already 0-8. You've fed as much gold into socks as you can from him, and he still can churn out the damage. He has 2 items. He has his stacks. I think you're right, crewman. I think this has become very, very dangerous for Agni Kai, despite the fact that they're up 12 kills.
Yeah, I don't think it matters anymore. I don't think it's relevant at this point in the game. So Infernal Soul in tow now. We are going to see Dynasty start to move towards this Baron and try to get some control. It's going to charm onto an Ornn. That's not really going to mean anything at all.
Yeah, Ornn is charmed that you thought that would do damage, and that's about it.
But we do see Walk Warlock. Feels like, once again, sort of the lone shining light for Agni Kai in the darkness. Doing some more work done in the side lane. Gets another turret on the Volibear, but he's still playing Volibear rolls, and it's hard to do much more than that.
Yeah, fully committed to the side lane. Not going to be a part of these team fights with that Hull Breaker. I don't hate it. It's not like you're going to win the team fights necessarily anyway with an Ornhorn coming over the top. But at the same time, it makes it so hard for them to have consistent pressure around this Baron, for example. Right now, they're controlling the river, but the moment that Feathers isn't pushing out that bot lane, it immediately cycles back to being Dynasty favored.
Oh. Final Spark just did negative damage to that Amumu. He does have a Rookern that is just going to completely counter Lux's ultimate ability. Unlucky.
Yeah, Canic Rookern is healthy. It's a healthy item.
Yeah. So is the Amumu. He's also very healthy.
Very true. Finny does have a bit of lifesteal at this point. He's going to be able to heal up from that Caitlyn ult, but that took him down to about 1,000 health just from clicking R, which, if that were to happen right as they headed into a team fight, would not be where Finny would want to be.
Yeah. Yeah, that is definitely true. I think Finny in general, he's still 8-0 in this Ezreal, man, which is a big glow up from what we saw from Finny in game number 1, but he can't have enough of an impact. It feels like the momentum of this game has just continually been shifting in favor of Dynasty over the last, 15 or 20 minutes, honestly. Even when they were getting solo killed, they were still getting objectives, right? They were still stacking up those dragons. And even, in the strongest moments for Agni Kai, they haven't been able to do, lasting, permanent damage to their opponents.
Yeah, I mean, we can't count them out. They are still ahead by about 3,000-4,000 gold. They do still have a fairly strong split pusher, as Walk will be able to continually apply pressure so long as he is present in that bot lane. But you're right, crewman, it is just kind of feeling like they're starting to play from behind. Your split pushers are strongest when the enemy team wants to take the winning fights elsewhere because they know they can win, just so long as they send all their members. That feels bad for a team that should be super far ahead right now.
Yeah, it certainly does. So, at least for the side of Dynasty, they haven't really been able to get enough control over that topside river to start up the Baron, and it will actually be Agni Kai that look to start this one off.
Oh my god!
As we do see a Batman over... Wait, Lux? What happened to Lux?
R.
Where'd she go?
Caitlyn R one-shot her.
Oh my. And, whoa, Warlock almost died to a turret there as well. As, well, Agni Kai, you tried to do something, so I guess props for that. It didn't work, though.
I guess Grim now knows that Lux prints money for him, so long as she has Baron's Gaze.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
That's incredible, though.
I mean, honestly, that's kind of how it's been going all game long. I mean, the Caitlyn has first strike, so that's pretty much what we've been seeing the whole time. Although it, you know, it is getting to a pretty absurd degree at this point.
Yeah, they are continuing to rotate around this Baron room, and they still want it, but gold creeping down from 4K closer to 3K. The gap's just not feeling there.
It's tough. I mean, okay, so, you know, as you were saying previously, Agni Kai, they do still technically have the gold lead. There has to be some play that they can make that would be winning. There has to be some way for them to create a point of pressure on the map, pull their opponents apart, and find themselves in the driver's seat once again. What is the play, Ols? What could they possibly do?
Find picks like this. Feathers and Fox stepping a little bit too far forward. They don't have vision. 4 members of Agni, 5 members of Agni are here. This is an odd numbers fight.
Gonna go ahead and commit the R onto the Vel'Koz, and he will immediately pop.
This is right before Elder. This is incredibly bad.
That is, yeah, incredibly bad for Dynasty. As you say, incredibly good for Agni Kai. We were waiting for them to make the play, and they have made a play. They've taken down the enemy support.
Oh my gosh.
What? Huh?
5-item Caitlyn. She goes Burr.
That's
apparently it doesn't matter.
Oh, Grin is going to die to the bear, a very angry bear that's really sad he's going to lose this game. Yeah. And now he's also going to die. He wants to try and get the victor as well. Not going to happen.
That's Elder. That's game. Crewman. What? Okay, it's
no,
not game.
That was
it's
actually
not game.
so good for Agni Kai. They actually found a pick right before the objective spawn. They were set up. And then they got headshot.
Yeah, a single headshot from a full item Caitlyn took Socks to Thighs out instantaneously.
Strongest member. Oh,
there are no words.
I'd have none. I have nothing to say about that.
If there is not a better crystallization of, despite having the gold lead, they have lost this game, I don't know what it would be.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty much game. I mean, the Nexus hasn't exploded yet, but this is going to be Exodia has officially been assembled by Dynasty Celestials, and that is going to be a dead Lux once again. Thank you, Elder Dragon.
Bye,
and that's Vantage Toss landing onto Socks. That's going to be probably a dead Ari as well. Yep, Chaos Storm, dead. And that is probably going to mean a dead Nexus as well, as Dynasty Celestials on the victory march down the mid lane.
A little bit slower than game 1, a little bit dirtier, a whole lot less convincing, perhaps. But Dynasty says we are the better team.
You say that it's less convincing, but I really feel like even when Agni Kai were getting all those picks, even when Nightmare was 0-7 on the Victor, dying in the side lane on cooldown, it still didn't really feel like they were completely out of contention, right? It always felt like Dynasty still had a way back in this game, and by God, they absolutely did. 38 minutes on the clock, and Dynasty Celestials will pick up another 2-0.
My goodness, crewman. What a show.
Yeah.
What an absolute experience as we get to look at the stats here.
Lethality Caitlyn, ladies and gentlemen.
Unsurprisingly, leaps and bounds among the next above the next most damaging member. There are no words.
Which was somehow the Victor, actually. Somehow, the second highest damage on the team was actually Victor, despite being completely useless for about 80% of that game.
Yeah, he was not a thing. I mean, okay. We say he was not a thing. Nightmare at 0-4 still nearly solo killed Sox in a full health on full health
That did
trade.
happen. That did happen.
Nightmare was still relevant despite being shut down so incredibly hard throughout the game.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
And that
can't disagree with that.
That mere existence was enough, I believe, to buy the space for, well, okay, mostly Grim, to just get to the point where he could click heads. Was looking like a game of CSGO by the end.
Yeah, and I guess, in hindsight, I think the only target that Agni Kai were allowed to go on, especially that late in the game, especially with how things have been going, you've seen how much damage this Caitlyn is doing. Vi, Glizzler, I'm sorry, you are not allowed to press your R button on Vel'Koz. You are not allowed to press it on anyone except Caitlyn. That is the only target they should have been going for. Like, clearly, they thought the Vel'Koz was out of position. And he was, right? He was isolated from the rest of the team. They were able to pick him off for free. They had a 5v4. It didn't matter. They didn't kill Caitlyn, and that was the only thing that mattered.
Yeah, absolutely. Crewman, I have to ask. Player of the game.
I don't think you do have to ask. I think it really kind of speaks for itself in this one. I think it's very straightforward.
You do?
I do. I do.
With it.
I think it's got to be Grim. I mean, I think you could try and make some arguments for some other people, and yeah, I mean, maybe voting for the boom boom damage is a little bit of a cliche, but I mean, he was literally one-shotting their entire team. Like, he was the biggest difference in this game.
You're not wrong, and I agree with you that he was the biggest difference, but I have to give credit to Amumu. Bought the space for Caitlyn to click heads in the pivotal fights. And 1-5-12 isn't exactly a stellar line, right? Oh, you died a ton in the early game. You weren't controlling Vi as much as you could have. Okay, fair. But by the end, he was dying for Grim. He was letting Grim kill the Ahri. He was letting Grim kill Finny. And that was what mattered.
Yeah. I think that's definitely very fair to say. I think Batman did have a very good game on the Amumu. Maybe did give up the first blood, right? Had maybe a couple of little whoopsies earlier on in the game that allowed Agni Kai to get a bunch of those kills. But especially, around the team fights towards the later parts of the game, I think you're absolutely right. He did do a phenomenal job of setting up a Grim for success and locking down those priority targets, such as Finny, right? So I think that's definitely a reasonable argument that you can make, but unfortunately, y'all, I do think that you are just wrong. Okay. I mean, it was Grim. Like, yes, Amumu set him up pretty well, did a great job even of setting him up, but like he had this ridiculously fed Caitlyn one-shotting everybody, that was the Amumu setup would not have been nearly as consequential if he didn't have that. So, for that reason, I think it's just not really a contest in this one. But overall, I mean, definitely Dynasty showing us that they are maybe even favorites here in the Plat League. I mean, it's still pretty early on here. This is week 3, so we are only a third of the way through our regular season. Still plenty of League of Legends left to play, and we could see some big improvements from any number of these teams, right? But as of right now, Dynasty Celestial is looking like a clear front runner in my eyes as a threat. Even looking further ahead towards playoffs and things like that. But yeah, do you have anything else? Any other thoughts? Anything else you wanted to add regarding this game, alls, or honestly any of the action that we've seen over this first few weeks of action here in BOL Plat?
No, Crewman, I think it is time for us to say goodnight as the raid has been triggered and we are heading out. Thanks for coming out, guys. We'll see you guys next week with more Plat action.
Good night.